think so.
What letter is this?
Q.
Q. This is indeed a
Hey, Froggy.
All right, welcome to the Patriot Hour for Monday, March 4th, 2019. All right, folks, we got a couple of new QAnon, Q clearance, breadcrumbs, updates, drops throughout, late last night. Just a couple. So we're going to go over those, and then I got a couple articles we're going to jump into. Again, if you're new, thanks for stopping by. Please subscribe, maybe ring the bell, toggle the switch to work with you on your device. That way you get all the alerts, all right? In the description box is the backup channel and all the links to everything we go over and more. So check that out. Emails is down below as well. So check all of that out. Okay, without any further ado here, let's jump in to these updates. Okay, so 2953 came. The last one I went over was 2952. And it was the Nunes video. So 2953, Mark Levin on Fox News last night had guest Brandon Straka. And this Twitter was just from Mark R. Levine. See you tonight. Thanks on Life and Liberty. And Levine on Fox News at 10. I actually caught some of this on the schedule, Q puts. And then at 11:05 last night, I would imagine minutes after this ended, because it went from 10 to 11 Eastern Standard Time, and at 11:05 we get this YouTube in the Great Awakening, which is a video from this Brandon Straka. And we can watch a couple of seconds here. It's about a 40-minute video.
Once upon a time, I was a liberal.
This
Well,
video
to
is
be honest, less than a year ago, I was still a liberal. I became a liberal because I felt I'd found a tribe whose values aligned with my own. I staunchly reject racism of any kind. I reject the marginalization of any human being based off of their gender or sexual orientation. I reject tyrannical groupthink. I reject a system which allows an ambitious, misinformed, and dogmatic mob to suppress free speech, create false narratives, and apathetically steamroll over the truth. I reject the acceptance of...
So basically he's denouncing the Democratic Party that he was part of and liberal agenda that he was part of for a long, long time, because he saw all the hypocrisy, all the evil work they were doing, truly. And that's about right. So check that out in full. It's like 42 minutes long. And that is it for the Q updates, all right, folks? But we have a few other things here. All right, watch Senator Mark Warner no longer thinks Northam and Fairfax should resign. Senator Mark Warner, Democrat out of Virginia, made an appearance on CNN's State of the Union Sunday, where he backtracked his own calls for Virginia Governor Ralph Northam and Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax to resign. Listen, as somebody who spent 20 years trying to build a brand about Virginia Democrats in candidly Virginia, where we most recently won the award of the Amazon headquarters, or Amazon headquarters, it has been very challenging, Warner told Jack Trapper. But if the government and lieutenant governor are going to continue, I think the lieutenant governor there needs to be a due process where the accuser get a chance to make their case, where the lieutenant governor gets to make his defense. When Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh was viciously smeared by Dr. Christine Bosley Ford as a sexual predator during his confirmation hearings, Democrats were much less lenient with the idea of due process. Instead of giving Kavanaugh a chance to prove his innocence, they demanded he immediately withdraw his name from consideration. And one of the things, if the governor is going to continue to stay, what he needs to do is get out and start to try to re-earn the trust of Virginians, Warren said. When I called for his resignation along with my friend Tim Kaine, we said the governor had lost the faith of the people of Virginia. He had a right to try to regain that faith, but I believe that that will involve him getting out and making the case to Virginians. Again, the Democratic Party double standard is highlighted. No Republican in the same situation as Northam would be afforded the opportunity to re-earn the trust of his constituents, Instead, he would be ruthlessly attacked until he resigned in disgrace. Tapper pressed a bit further before the end of the segment, asking for a yes or no on whether both men should step down. Warner again dodged the question. Listen, I think that we've made our call weeks ago, he said. If both of the gentlemen are going to stay, there needs to be a process in place that they can go and about and try to re-earn the faith of Virginians. So he just basically danced around the question. A couple of these we went over already. Kamala Harris wants to decriminalize prostitution. Here's a good one. Bernie Sanders. His deputy press secretary is an illegal immigrant. Bernie Sanders' campaign for presidency is already off to an impetuous start. The Washington Examiner reports Senator Bernie Sanders, new deputy national press secretary, likely won't be eligible to vote in the 2020 election due to what she says is her status as an undocumented immigrant. The hiring of Belen Sissa, an Arizona left activist, was announced Wednesday evening. Sissa, who says she was brought to this country illegally from Argentina by her parents at the age of 6, is currently protected from deportation under President Barack Obama Deferred Action for Child Arrivals, or the DACA program. Despite her immigration status, Sissa has remained active in liberal politics for over the years. In 2016, she worked as a page to the Arizona delegation at the Democratic National Convention and in the Latino outreach for Sanders' 2016 campaign. Examiner passage ends. Sanders' Democratic rivals are also experiencing backlash and scandal. Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris' father recently rebuked her for using the stereotype that Jamaicans, like those in her family, smoke marijuana. It turns out that Harris's father, Donald Harris, made a startling admission in an essay he wrote entitled Reflections of a Jamaican Father, which was published at Jamaica Global online. My roots go back, within my lifetime, to my parental grandmother, Miss Christina Brown, descendant of Hamilton Brown, who is on record as a plantation and slave owner and founder of Brown's Town, and to my maternal grandmother, Miss Iris, nee Iris Finnegan, a farmer and educator from Eanan Town and Inverness, ancestry unknown to me. The Harris name comes from my parental grandfather, Joseph Alexander Harris, landowner and architectural produce exporter, mostly pimento or allspice, who died in 1939, 1 year after I was born, and is buried in the churchyard of the magnificent Anglican church which Hamilton Brown built in Brownstown, and where as a child I learned the catechism, which baptized and confirmed and served as an acolyte. Democrat presidential candidate Kamala Harris' team is trying to distance itself from a growing scandal. Harris oversaw the California Department of Justice's push to block parole for prisoners so they could continue to serve their prison labor. According to court filings, lawyers for the state of California said met benchmarks and argued that if certain potential parolees were given fast-tracked out of prison, it would negatively affect the prison's labor programs, including one that allowed certain inmates to fight California's wildfires for about $2 a day. Extending a 2-for-1 credits to all minimum custody inmates at this time would severely impact camp's participation. Look at that, they're lobbying. Some of these people's time is up just to get out. Well, if you just let them out, then we're going to kind of hurt on, who's going to serve the food in the prison to the other prisoners. Well, their time's up. Yeah, we're just saying, what about that? What about this? Lobbying to keep people in a little longer. Extending 2-for-1 credits to all minimum custody inmates at this time would severely impact the camp fire participation, a dangerous outcome while California is in the middle of its difficult fire season and severe drought, lawyers for Harris wrote in the filing, noting that the fire camp program required physical fitness in addition to level of clearance that allowed the felon to be off-site. So Harris, for her part, told BuzzFeed 2 months after the arguments were made on her behalf that she was shocked by the argument, telling the publication she was looking into it. Asked about the case this week, Harris's presidential campaign said she took action. As she said at the time, Senator Harris was shocked and troubled by the use of the argument. She looked into it and directed the department's attorneys not to make that argument again. She said spokesman Ian Sams, her office, on behalf of the State of Corrections Department, and then came to the table with plaintiffs' representatives to negotiate an agreement, which the court subsequently approved, that led to an expansion of the 2-for-1 credits. Think Progress reported in 2014, California Attorney General Camille Harris told Think Progress Wednesday she is concerned her department created a perception that the state's prisons have a goal of indentured servitude. Harris was responding to revelations that lawyers in her office argued in court without her knowledge that a program to parole more prisoners would drain the state's source of cheap labor. The way that argument played out in the courts does not reflect my priorities, she said, adding that she fears state lawyers taking that position will create more distrust in the criminal justice system. Harris worried that heavily policed communities may suspect that state has an ulterior motive, especially when it seems the penalty may not be appropriate to the crime. The idea that we incarcerate people to have indentured servitude is one of the worst possible perceptions, said Harris. I feel strongly about that. It evokes images of chain gangs. I take very seriously, and I'm looking into exactly what needs to be done to correct it. All right, so there you hear it, folks. You heard it here first, maybe. All right, so we'll be around throughout the day. I got a few things I got to step out and do later this early afternoon, but we might be able to pop off a live show on the Patriot Tech, all right, the backup channel, about 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9:30ish, and we'll go to about 10:30 for about an hour. So if you can join us over there, that'd be great. It's going to be Woodman, I believe, and myself. So make sure you're subscribed. The link is down below in the description box for the Patriot Tech to be all to the backup channel, folks. That way you can be alerted the minute we put out a video over there. It's our backup channel to this. Again, we appreciate you stopping by. God bless, Godspeed, each and every one of you. Make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you back here real soon on the next Patriot Hour Update video. Have a great morning into your afternoon.